What's up, guys? Today we're going to be talking about exit velocity testing. More specifically, how do we test exit velocity when we don't have a fancy HitTrax or a fancy Rapsodo? How can we get the job done with just a radar gun? All right, Max, today we're going to be doing some exit velocity testing off the tee. So we got a target on our L screen so we can hit it up the middle of the cage to line up with our radar gun. So let it eat. When we are using radar guns to collect exit velocity data, we have to take into account that our readings on the radar gun are not going to be as accurate as if we were using other technologies like HitTrax, Rapsodo, or TrackMan, just because a radar gun is not designed to capture velocities in an entire range that we could hit the ball. So we have to take into account something called cosine error, which essentially means that the further the ball is hit away from the direction that the radar gun is pointed, the less accurate those readings are going to be. So we can see in the graphic that if my radar gun is pointed right down the middle of the cage, the most reliable reading is going to be a ball that is hit directly to the middle of the cage. If I pull it or hit it to the opposite field, that reading is going to be less accurate. So it's something we have to take into account when collecting data or picking an environment type. When selecting the environment that we're going to collect exit velocity data in, we have to consider how consistently our athletes can hit the ball in the direction our radar gun is pointed to minimize cosine error, while at the same time getting as close to a game-like environment so that we can get readings that will reflect what our athletes are going to do during games. This has to be balanced based on the skill level and age of the athlete. For example, a younger athlete should probably do exit velocity testing off of a tee because they're going to be a little bit more consistent with hitting the ball towards a target that's in line with our radar gun. Versus a more advanced athlete, an athlete that's a little bit older, might be able to do front toss or BP or machine and still have enough batted balls in the proper direction to minimize cosine error. This is just something that we have to consider when choosing the environment based on the age and skill level of our athletes, and also when we go to analyze the data, it's something we have to consider. If a guy's exit velocity is super high, but we did that collection off of a tee, we have to take that into consideration that in a game-like environment, their exit velocity might be a little bit lower because the environment's a little bit more challenging. So why are we measuring exit velocity in the first place? Well, exit velocity has a really high correlation to productive batted balls. You can see in the graphic that our hitting trainer John Soteropoulos put together that as exit velocity increases, our WOBA increases as well. So the harder we hit the ball, the more productive our batted balls are going to be. The three variables that are going to affect your exit velocity are going to be bat speed, contact or collision efficiency, which has to do with the type of ball you have, the type of bat, but more importantly, how well you square up the baseball. Are you hitting the center of the ball, the top of the ball? Are we slicing it? Are we hooking it? That's going to affect your exit velocity. The third variable is going to be pitch speed. So when we're training things like bat speed or we're training to make better contact, it's helpful to track what your exit velocity is to get an idea of whether your training protocols are effective in increasing exit velocity or they're not very effective and some adjustments need to be made. Now that we have some exit velocities collected, what exit velocities should we be shooting for? Here we have our exit velocity metrics broken down by skill level or playing level. We have youth, high school, college, independent, and affiliate. And these exit velocities are then further broken down into peak exit velocity, top 8 exit velocity, and average exit velocity. All of these exit velocity numbers were collected with hitters hitting off of a game-like pitching machine and collected through a HitTrax. So the numbers here are going to be a little bit more accurate than what you might get on a radar gun. So we need to keep that in mind when looking at our exit velocity data. But this gives you a good idea of what numbers we should be shooting for based on your playing level. The only way to know whether we're getting better is by measuring our progress. So no matter if you got the fancy technology of a HitTrax or Rapsodo,
or if you just got a radar gun, there's always a way to measure your progress. So if you enjoyed this video, take a look at our hitting certification for more information on how to design practice plans and develop your training protocols. But other than that, keep hitting balls hard.